Hello. You are welcome to another edition or another episode of our addiction program and education. My name is Sanke. I'm an addiction professional and a counselor at the House of St. Francis Rehabilitation Center. In the past few weeks, we have talked about so many things. We have talked about in step 1, surrendering to the fact that we are not going to be able to continue. For those of us who do not have substance and drug problems, we said whatever problem surrender to the fact that you cannot continue to live your life in that state. You do step 2, what did we say? We came to believe that it was only a power greater than ourselves that could restore us to sanity. What we did was that step 2, we said no, maybe in the past we tried to get results. Me a mistake there, and now me try to me pens sign do my brabo mu. Me start here and what happened? Ankoye, I came back to the life. Those of us who were drinking, those of us who were smoking, what we did was we told ourselves we were not going to drink and smoke again. We stopped for some time. Then before we realized, we came back to it. We stopped for some time. Before we realized, we came back to it. We kept doing stopping and coming for a period. And then we had to realize we were not going to be able to do this change. What we needed was a power greater than ourselves. Now step 2 you can say one now be decided say me per power way me gidi say nyame na Christopher som no ono no betumi aboa me ana we anyway and betumi aboa me, and then you seek that power and believe in that power. In that same step 2, we talked about a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. You see, the conscious mind is the one that is responsible for the actions we take, and the subconscious mind is the one that is responsible for the quality of life that we have. Into whatever I tell myself today, so I can say no, me person maybe me sikeni sa botaina media to me mono sa information in ya efi your subconscious ni mo na mum conscious mind na be pick sa information na chem say so open is Canada in the kweku yenye say na ma start here then yeah. So subconscious responsible for quality of life, and then conscious responsible for our actions. Then we move to step 3. In step 3, we talked about the most important aspect of every human life, and that was decision making. Decisions are so important that on a regular basis we use them. We say decision, we gather information be now we take option be say may say and may say you have taken a decision. Adia may say was a decision for me to come and stand here to do, and I may no me boa. Obi so say sorry and apostle say a comedy mean mediway. What you did, father, is menum cocoa. What have you done? You made the decision to drink cocoa even though you could have drunk or eaten something else. So in step 3, we talked about decision making and how important it was to human life. Today we are going to talk about step 4. In our step 4, in our program of step 4, we are actually going to start action. So far, let's take for example our step 3. Let me use this simple illustration. For example, if 3 birds are on a tree and one decides to fly away, how many are left? Your class on our program now, you hear a lot of answers concerning this question. Ebibeka said 3. Ebibeka said 2. What is it? Is it 3 or is it 2? If 3 birds are on a tree and one decides to fly away. Now, everyone who is watching this will also probably guess. Maybe some of you will say 2, others will say 3. The real answer is 3. Why is it 3? Because to make a decision to do something in itself, any action. I've decided to say meko akra. Mijina he mesi meko akra. Mako akra. Menko akra ye. Me say meko abrochi. Me de me so na ma ka o metim say me pese meko abrochi, pese meko abrochi. Me da so Ghana, me boa. Me so na me say pese me toka, we pese me yesi me. Mijina he kra me say me pese me toka. Ma toka there be. So what I mean is that the fact that you have made a decision in itself is not an action. And so in step 4, we are saying that we are no more talking about decision making, we are no more talking about believing, we are talking about real action. We begin to do work to achieve at whatever result we are looking for. Now step 3, let's go straight to step 4. Step 4, we made a searching and moral inventory of ourselves. What I say? Searching a moral inventory of ourselves. Step way. In some woman a dozen, and so I may or may not be able to cover all of them in this episode, but I'll do my best to summarize what I can in this episode. If we are not able to finish, then hopefully when we meet next week we will wrap it up. Now let's start. Something drives everybody to do or be what they are. What am I saying? Before you do something, there's something within you that drives you to do it. For example, say a car ya mijina ho ya. A car engine shame bibia shame. There's something that would make this car actually move. Without that thing, the car will not move. Take a big articulator and pull. If articulator car container CH car, KCSR engine bibia shame. Without something inside of it, that articulator will not move. Until what we are going to talk about, the thing that drives us to move. What do we call it? We call it instinct. In the case of car, now made the example, no. A car without a car battery, no, the car will not move. We don't say car kesiye, it's not the battery ketwa. Car kesiye me say kesiye so the battery ketwa. It means even though the battery is little, it is that battery that is going to move this car. It is similar with human beings. Into obi biara, we have an instinct in us that acts like a battery that moves us to do things. What I say. Now, what are these instincts? How do they move us? These are the things that we are going to try to understand in step 4. Sometimes we do a lot of things and we do not understand why we do them. Me fan say, me wo suban bia me leve the question is, do I understand why I do them? Maybe also you think you are going through a difficulty. Perhaps you think that, okay, you had a relationship the first time. Before you realize the relationship ended, you went on to a second relationship. Before you realize that second relationship ended, third, fourth. Now you realize that there's a sequence of things happening throughout all your relationships. Now, so still you are not able to tell. This is because you have not really taken your time to pay attention to what drives you. The things that cause you to do it, you have not taken your time to understand them. For example, the very first time we had our sessions, what I talked about was what? Why do we drink? Why do we use the drugs we use? This question has been a question that most of us are now and most of us are we have not been able to properly answer. Why do I drink? They say, I drink for fun. You drink for fun? Into fun, into now, fun, into now, wejuma. Fun into now, wejina ho, and now what's now ma uhonami ya can health cry, say no fun into ana. What kind of fun will you be able to enjoy without your family, without your job, without your health? What I say. So you have to understand that before we decide to say obey way and now obey say no, there is something that was driving you. And I know, and I'm see a friend in instinct, you know. Now these instincts cause all of us to do a lot of things, and it is very important for us to understand them. Nyamibo ni pebiano or man then instincts. Now some instincts, you know, for example, COVID year by you realize that so many of us were not able to you can't say handle the lockdown properly. Now lockdown, obi nipa de nka nyame boy to live with other human beings. Now fe ya renti you see nyina yenko share inside. And obi ampe 2 days, not 3 days, maybe bre. And this was what? To help all of us. But why was it difficult for us to stay locked down? Because nyame boy, you know, we have an instinct we call a social instinct. That social instinct is what drives us to want to be with other people. Inside now, maybe you do HBR, you say, you're not worry. Now, I started here, and I say, one can say, won't worry, not to be being a non cash in power. One can say, do baby, enough, you feel say, or 7% worry, and I say, me, worry, and come worry. Why? Because there's an instinct which is forming part of the social instinct that wants you to get attached or to stay in companion with someone else. And yes, I but there's something that drives you to want it. Let's move on. For example, I don't know. I don't know, be sorry, I'll say me person ko yejuma na yina ye pese yenya sika kakra. We call that instinct a security instinct. We might have heard, for example, you can casually a survival instinct. Sa survival instinct no yesi den me gina ha me ye presentation kama say wo de majata be pie wo hasisia dwane a me dwane no ese weni adinti na me dwane because there's a natural instinct inside of me that wants to preserve my life, and that is an example of a security instinct. Back to the Juma, we go say ye Juma because ye pisika na nya sa won ye nya sika mfa nto adwane a wonim ochina na yewu nti ye pese sika no just to continue to preserve our lives ni nti no na ye num bi ye Juma ana ye didi, for example, ana ye te ye sisi dan ana ada na ye te efie mu because oda abonte a untumi ntina abonte me bo a nsu ana bibi tumi ba na utumi wu basically, and that will not help in your survival. There's a natural driver to keep ourselves what? Alive, or to preserve our lives, and all of that forms part of what? Our security instinct. And then another very important instinct, my friend, is sexual instinct. This sexual instinct, and a control you so in so many ways. Your desire to want to be with a persons of the opposite sex. Some persons in the opposite sex, there's a natural to want to feel, to have something to do with persons in the opposite sex. Me a bema, and I have other male friends. Is it not okay for me to just have male friends? No, I didn't hear, because there's something within me, an instinct within me that also wants to have a relationship with people from the opposite sex. Now, all of these desires, instinct, I am using them as examples because it is very difficult to just talk about them without using the examples. And using these sort of examples will help us understand why we do the things we do. And for example, because I'm not able to have confidence, and I'm not able to deal with shyness. What am I doing? I have drunk on the premise of the assumption, say, me need courage to mingle with other human beings. And so you can tell from this example, they say it is the social instinct within me and then driving me to do what I did. I didn't think my call in a relationship, and I mean who's a boy we are now about with onye mommy. Then when me say me don't know. Now I still go into a relationship with such a person. It's because of what? A sexual instinct or a social instinct within me that causes me to go ahead and do such a thing. Now make a win now, because say get it win now, see we are going to effectively understand what we are doing in step 4. Now let me move a little away from talking about instincts, to talking about the inventory process. Today, before I became an addiction professional and a counselor, I had worked in so many areas. I had worked as an events manager, I worked as a marketing person before, and then lastly, I worked in a bar where I managed the pub. I managed, basically the stock and everything that had to do with the bar or the pub. And now, in the course of working, there was something very important that I discovered, and that was what? Inventory or stock taking. Ufa bar bia, na so be say maybe obi bar and akaba na eboso. We normally like to sit back and assume say no run bar no, onye skapa it's miss menya skaka kan ma miss menfa ko be bar. But managing a bar in itself no, a technique be stock na e bar no no. Sa stock na e muja na e bar no no. Muja say sa muja no na and sa stock na running activities of the bar. Stock no more na one. Obesande ato new stock. Stock no more na would be your bills. Stock no more na would be your workers. Sa stock no more would be your taxes. Would be your renovations. Would be your bibia sa stock no more. And imagine say wakoto club be a 5 crate. Wakoto me fan say Guinness so 5 crate. Now do run no bar. Ya me person me chane say crate no quite 20 cities each in poor. Now turn now 25 I say 50 cities no. So what? You spent 20 40 and sold it and got 50 cities 10 Ghana cedis me boa. Me check say 10 Ghana cedis and 50 Ghana cedis na unya from sales no. Sa sika no more na dey betu our salary. Would be to our rent, would be to our bills and renovations, baby as anymore. And so what I noticed, I was saying was that stock taking or inventory was a very important technique. Maybe I say, and the same stock for our lives. And when I go to a bar every morning, or when I get to the bar every morning, the first thing that we used to do was what? To take stock. It was necessary for us to know on daily basis, say, me were gonna say. Me want inside we say, me what we say, and I'm on stock we say, and so I'm day now starting. So me take stock now. What it meant was that what? Make me start today no. Now maybe before if you have a bona, and me find customers baby I buy some per club. Me kona me club 2 bottles spend on fridge no. My short no. And I say me take stock anopana. Maybe now me kona sika kakra da ho. Me 100 Ghana cedis bi da ho. Me ko fire me who say no Guinness ni ho Guinness asa na me sika ni nyina akoto Guinness na e dey be share fridge mu afi me ni be ba me ho so na idea Fanta so asa sisi a Fanta na asa na me any day what about I have used the money na me woni na akoto one specific stock and I major other ones no into who say if you do not take the stock well to know which ones you have more, which ones you have less, or which stock is moving faster. Maybe we far in some you know far we say baako esen baako into one faster technique and you stock taking I be say no maybe now this can to stock na enko no na nia econo we jai Into the act of what? Taking stock or inventory, even in a bar setting, was a very sophisticated technique. The same system. And you may be realize that stock taking is very, very important to the success of that business. When taking stock now, in the opposite good business, no. Now let us take our lives as a business. Yeah, your business is you taking stock. You want to stock. We take our time to do it very, very, very well. Now the question is, say what business now to me and say, what to me take your time, take stock. Why don't we do the same thing for our lives? You call interviews and you to me say, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? You know me, you do interview now. If I say I'm confused, now you to me can't say just because we want to answer the questions and seem articulate. But the truth is that some of the things we even present at our interviews are not a true reflections of what our strengths and our weaknesses. But why is it difficult for us to know our strengths and our weaknesses? Is it not because we fail to do proper inventory of our lives? Obi wo ha onya ka che say wo me hu say wo ye quick tempered no na ne buefu. And obi wo ha onim say ewiase ono bae no ade ba call ya ne me quick tempered. Dabi. Perhaps there are other aspects of your lives that are also weaknesses. And now there are other aspects of your lives that are what strengths that may what compensate for your weaknesses. So why don't we take time to understand perfectly who we are? In my work as a counselor, one of the things that I like to do with my clients, when they come, this is very annoying for them, very, very annoying, and I will make it annoying for all of us too. When they come, one of the things I will normally do in the early stages of our discussions will be to ask you to write about yourself. Your primary, your GSS, we used to write about ourselves a lot. Now, we ask you to write about yourself. You realize it becomes very difficult. So, you can try it. When we're in primary, anytime we're called upon to do myself, you start here. My name is Sanke. I come from Sandema. I do this. I am this years old. My best food is this. My this is that. My this is that. At that age, there was little about us. There was little for us to really write about. Now, growing up, we have gone through so many experiences. We have probably traveled so many. We have done so many jobs. We have met so many people. And then you can say, pick a sheet of paper and write about yourself. You might start to begin to talk about what your cars. You might start to begin to talk about your job. You might start even to talk about your relationship with others. You might even start to talk about everything that is around you and forget about you yourself. You yourself, because I should be able to know, say, maybe I have pride. My pride comes when I do this, when I see this, when I do this. Maybe I'm a person with low self-esteem. I should be able to tell. Maybe I have resentment issues. I have fears. Are those not what really mean? What it really means to talk about myself? I work at this place. I have this number of cars. I have this girlfriend. I have this. I have that. No. To talk about yourself means to take a proper inventory of who you are. Without taking the inventory of who you are, we are going to continue to repeat mistakes. Nobody really comes to a new type of problem. All the problems we continue to encounter in our lives as people are problems that are always there. Maybe now it happens all the time. Every year we have the same problem. And new problems be. Why? Because we repeat them. And why do we repeat them? We repeat them because we do not know enough about ourselves as we ought to. And to share, the truth is that when we do not understand ourselves properly, we are likely to continue to live in a certain way of life. Whatever change I will say we desire, whatever thing I will say, but I will say we will know. The truth is that it is you who must be the change. Me, I have come in contact with a lot of people who have had problems with others. No bar, or say, and I ask me say, this guy did this to me, and when I asked him to do this, blah blah blah. Even in relationships, at the end of the day, Nyomo Kanane said the other person is the problem. Now, you cannot change the world. The only thing you can change is or the only person you can change is yourself. And so when I find that Asumesi is the problem, all mama say, kasa anyhow, and I say. In our program, in our fourth step, for example, I am going to take time to understand my behavior. Maybe I am say na Asumesi omuadie ampa. Na omuadie no maybe na sana menene kasa enti na odeba me so. The way the person relates to others is totally different from the way I want to be relating. Now what I'm saying is that if I begin to understand myself more rather than focusing too much on the other person, you are going to find a lot of weaknesses. There are so many times I have come into a lot of contact with a lot of people. When I start here, I'll say, and my work is not going on well. It is my boss. It is this person. I know that this. I know that, and this person has been doing this. And this person. I'm like, okay, it's good. Have you considered changing yourself? Then you realize, no, me, I have no problem. Me, I have no problem. I know I'm doing the right thing, but this is not. Why is it so difficult? Because you have not taken time. Not even the time I will use it to try to what? Understand other people, to understand yourself. When you say, you have taken your time to understand everything about that person. And no say enye kokonsa o. Now so nipa ne de uyi ne besi ho no, unya abotre ehun say nipa we or you say not ono de uni akoma ono de onim na na one ne kasa say ya say no be ye o ade nti no yesa because me say no way because of entity na we nya osua no eno nti no yesi ana oyesa. Me say if you are able to do that with regards to other people, you are perfectly on your way to know how to do this for yourself. Now the trick here is that what? Don't do this for other people, but rather do this for your own life. Send a car concerning the inventory for bar near the na run no. You can take 10 bars and 10 shops, provision shops. Who will say baku any scarcing baku. Even the trick is if you do not know how to take inventory, you don't even know what your asset is, and you will not know what your liabilities are. So the same way in your lives, you don't know anything about yourself, you don't know your strengths, you don't know your weaknesses. How do you then move on? You see why I say this step 4 is actually very detailed. It will take more than just to figure out all of this. It takes actual work. We have in our program inventory sheets or inventory papers that you begin to fill out. Now these sheets are presented in a very easy format. You can actually do what I'm talking about. If you go even online and Google, let's say step 4 AA and now AA step 4, we will say examples of such sheets will be presented to you. Now everybody, you see what everybody, this is I'm starting from instincts, even way back from defense mechanisms. Everybody do things they do because they are driven by something. So the bottom line of these instincts, we inventory commander make and say, take your time and understand yourself properly. Understand what is blocking you from having that success that you want so badly. Understand why you go back to the use of drinking and smoking, even when you tell yourself that you will not do it. Like I said some time back in our program, I say it is only a character change that is sufficient enough that can only bring you the recovery you are looking for. What passes? 2%, 20%, 30%, 80%. If the character change should be 90%, now it's even 89%, you are not going to get the recovery what you are looking for. Maybe in my book I say, me Ujai, name when you realize what the change you are looking for in your life. Still, unyaye. Perhaps change in our society. It is not enough. What is some? It is not enough. What I say? Into this step 4, like I said, it is a long conversation, and I don't want us to cover all of it in this episode. We have only talked about instincts which drive us and inventory. So instinct, they are the things that drive us. And so look at everything that you do. You can even try from today. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I even watching this video? Perhaps there's a need within me that I want to satisfy. Why do I have the friends that I have? There's a need. Even when the friends are bad for me, why do I stick to them? I stick to them because there's a need within me that I would want to satisfy. Why am I even in the relationship that I am in? Because there's a need for me. You are in a bad relationship, but you are still in it. Why? Because there's something within you that is making you stick to that relationship. Why is it that you are doing or going the places you are going to? Like I said, there's something that is driving you to do all of these. And like a bar or like a business or like a shop, it is important that we take inventory for our lives. Our program will say what? Moral and searching. Moral because be honest. Be honest, very, very, very honest with yourself. If I know that I live in fear, or if I know that what I gave you what I gave you because of fear, if I know I am staying in a relationship with you or I am drinking because of fear or because of worry, I should be able to know specifically that it is because of worry and I have to be honest about it. Sometimes we find it very difficult to be honest with ourselves, and that is when defense mechanisms here and there will kick in. But because we have already talked about defense mechanisms, you should be able to at every point in time tell, say, this is what I'm doing. Maybe I am justifying, maybe I'm rationalizing, maybe I'm using intellect. Now when you know all of these things, you can easily identify yourself properly. Take an inventory of yourself. Know your assets, know your liabilities, know your strengths. What I mean is know your strengths and what? Know your weaknesses. And next week when we come, we are going to what? Take all of these things and see how what? We can continue to break them down into our step 4 properly. Like I said, step 4 ewa. Then we need to mean capturing. These are just what? A summaries. It's maybe for your homework, if you don't mind, try what I said. Write about yourself if you want to. If you don't, and then we'll move on like that. But write about yourself. And then maybe if you like, put it there on our comment section, or tell me the struggles that you experience on our comment section. And when we come back next week, we'll pick them and we'll talk about them. So thank you very much for being part of this program again today. Thank you SVTV, thank you House of St. Francis, and I'll see you next week. Bye.